Beneath the scorching sun and endless waves of golden sand, the Sahara holds secrets whispered by the wind, secrets of gods who once ruled not just the land, but the very souls of the desert. These are not tales of towering temples or grand civilizations you've heard before. Instead, they are echoes of forgotten deities lost to time and buried beneath shifting dunes. What happened to these gods? Why did their names fade from history while others thrived? This vast wilderness, harsh and unforgiving, was once home to spirits and gods whose powers shaped life, death, and fate itself. The Sahara is more than a desert. It is a silent archive, a living monument to ancient cultures whose beliefs and rituals remain hidden beneath centuries of sandstorms and silence. The Garamantes, fierce desert lords, and the Berber peoples, resilient and enigmatic, each held unique visions of divinity, forces that governed water, survival, the stars, and the invisible threads connecting humans to the cosmos. Their gods were not distant. They were alive in the howling winds, in the sacred wells, and in every grain of sand that slipped through ancient hands. Before we journey deeper, I want to ask you to do something. Listen with more than your ears. Let these lost gods touch something inside you. Feel the power of names that might sound strange, but carry the weight of ancient worlds. Let them challenge what you think you know about history, about faith, about the unseen forces that still shape our lives. And when this story ends, ask yourself, which of these forgotten gods lingers in your spirit? Which deity's strength, silence, or storm mirrors your own truth? Subscribe not just to follow another channel, but to join a gathering, a remembering of sacred voices lost in the dust. Like this video, not as a number, but as a token, a digital offering to honor those divine forces who once guarded balance in this vast land. And if something stirs within you as you hear these names, don't keep it to yourself. Share this story with someone who still believes in justice older than law, deeper than politics, and holier than any court. These gods are not dead, they are waiting to rise again. Now, with hearts open and minds curious, let the gods of the Sahara awaken. Let us begin. The Sahara is not simply a barren sea of sand. It is a living, breathing expanse where survival depends on an intimate dance between life and spirit. The sun scorches by day, turning the earth to glass, while the night sky dazzles with stars that seem to watch over those who dare to cross this unforgiving landscape. The winds sweep endlessly, carving dunes that shift like restless spirits, hiding stories beneath their crests. Here, life is a constant challenge, a delicate balance maintained between scarcity and abundance. Every drop of water is sacred, every shadow a refuge. In this vast wilderness, the physical and the spiritual are inseparable. Each breath, each step, a prayer to unseen forces. Amid these harsh conditions, ancient peoples rose to become the guardians of the desert. The Garamantes, an enigmatic civilization, thrived here for centuries, carving out an oasis of life with ingenious irrigation and trade routes that defied the brutal environment. Their cities, hidden deep within the sands, flourished like mirages come to life. But it was not just their mastery of survival that made them remarkable. It was their profound spiritual connection to the land. They believed the desert was alive with gods and spirits that guided their fate. These deities govern not only the natural world, but also the cycles of life and death, the flow of water, and the shifting sands themselves. To the Garamantes, the desert was a sacred realm where the divine and mortal worlds intertwined. Alongside the Garamantes, the Berber peoples walked these sands with a deep-rooted spiritual identity that stretches far beyond history's pages. Known by many names over the centuries, the Berbers are the indigenous heart of North Africa. their culture woven with threads of mystery and resilience. For them, the gods were ever present, shaping their clans, their songs, and their stories. The desert, while often cruel, was also a sacred teacher, its dangers and gifts a reflection of the gods' will. Berber oral traditions are rich with legends of spirits who dwell in the mountains, the winds, and the wells, guardians of life and keepers of ancient wisdom. These stories speak of divine beings who intervene in human affairs, offering protection or testing courage and faith. One legend tells of a desert spirit known as the Master of the Winds, a god whose breath could summon both life-giving rain and devastating storms. Travelers would whisper his name when caught in sudden sandstorms, hoping to appease him and be granted safe passage. Another tale recounts a goddess of fertility who guarded hidden springs, ensuring the survival of nomadic tribes during droughts. Her favor was sought through secret rituals, songs passed down through generations, and offerings left in sacred places. These myths, passed down orally for centuries, are more than stories. They are living threads that connect the past to the present, weaving a tapestry of belief and survival. The relationship between these desert peoples and their gods was not distant or abstract. It was intimate and immediate. Every sunrise was a gift from divine hands, every oasis a blessing to be revered. To disrespect the gods was to invite ruin, but to honor them meant harmony with the harsh beauty of the Sahara. In this dance of survival and faith, the Garamantes and Berbers created spiritual worlds as vast and shifting as the desert itself. Their gods were fierce, mysterious, and endlessly powerful, guardians of a realm where the boundaries between the seen and unseen blurred beneath the endless sky. In the heart of the Sahara, where the sun's fury seems relentless and life itself a fragile spark, the Garamantes carved out a kingdom that defied nature's harshest limits. Rising around 500 BCE, this civilization became a beacon of ingenuity and resilience, thriving in one of the world's most unforgiving deserts. Their story is one of triumph against all odds, of a people who not only survived, but flourished amid shifting sands and blistering heat. The Garamantes built complex underground irrigation systems, known as fogaras, to draw water from deep aquifers, transforming arid land into fertile fields. Their cities, dotted with forts and trading hubs, connected Saharan caravans to distant Mediterranean and sub-Saharan worlds. Yet beyond their physical achievements, what set the Garamantes apart was a rich spiritual life centered on powerful deities who ruled the desert's mysteries. The gods of the Garamantes were as fierce and elusive as the desert itself. They commanded forces vital to survival, water that breathed life into parched earth, sandstorms that could cleanse or destroy, and the invisible threads of fate that wove human destiny. These gods were neither distant nor abstract. They were present in every wind gust, every drop of rain, every grain of sand. One of the chief deities was Ammon, a god whose breath was said to summon both life-giving rains and deadly sandstorms. The Garamantes revered him as the master of weather and the guardian of balance between creation and destruction. To invoke Ammon was to ask for mercy or favor from the desert's wild heart. Another revered figure was Tselk, the god of water and fertility. Tselk was believed to guard the fogaras and the hidden springs beneath the sands. Without Tselk's blessing, the life-giving water would dry up, dooming the people to thirst and famine. The Garamantes' rituals involved secret ceremonies held at night near these sacred wells. Cloaked in mystery, these rites called for offerings of incense and precious oils, accompanied by chants meant to reach the ears of the gods. Priests, known only to a few, guided these sacred acts, acting as bridges between the mortal world and the divine realm. One of the most evocative myths passed down from the Garamantes tells of a divine battle that shaped the desert's fate. According to legend, long ago, the desert was ruled by a chaotic god of storms named Zarak, whose fury brought endless sandstorms that buried entire villages and extinguished life. The people prayed for salvation, and their cries reached the ears of Ammon, who descended in a whirlwind of light and thunder to confront Zarak. The gods clashed in the skies above the Sahara, their battle raging for days, shaping the dunes with each strike. Finally, Ammon triumphed, binding Zarak beneath the sands, but not destroying him, for his fury was part of the desert's soul. To honor this sacred pact, the Garamantes celebrated an annual festival marking the victory of order over chaos. This ritual involved a symbolic reenactment of the divine battle, with priests donning masks representing Ammon and Zarak. The festival served not only as a remembrance, but as a powerful spiritual renewal, calling upon the gods to maintain balance and protect the people from the desert's wrath. It was believed that without these ceremonies, the bound fury of Zarak might awaken, unleashing destruction once more. The Garamantes' spiritual life was also deeply tied to the stars, which they saw as the dwellings of ancestors and gods. They believed that celestial bodies governed the seasons and the flow of water. Through observing the skies, priests could interpret divine messages and guide the community in times of drought or prosperity. This cosmic connection underscored the Garamantes' belief that the desert was a realm where earth, sky, and spirit converged, a sacred place where gods walked unseen but ever present. Despite their might and mystique, the Garamantes eventually vanished, their cities swallowed by sand and time. Yet their gods lingered in stories whispered by desert nomads, echoes of a once glorious spiritual world. The rituals faded, but the memory of Ammon's storm and Selk's waters continued to ripple through the sands. Today, archaeologists uncover fragments of Garamantes' temples and inscriptions, slowly piecing together the rich tapestry of a civilization that once held the Sahara's soul in their hands. Their gods, fierce and elusive, remind us that survival in the desert was more than a battle of endurance. It was a sacred pact with forces beyond human control. The Garamantes mastered not only sand and water, but the mysteries of spirit, weaving a legacy where myth and reality danced beneath the endless Saharan sky. Their story invites us to see the desert not as empty wilderness, but as a living, breathing realm shaped by gods whose echoes still stir in the wind. The Berber gods are shadows cast across the sands, enigmatic forces as wild and complex as the desert itself. These deities embody the primal powers of nature, the fierce winds that sweep the dunes, the relentless sun, and the silent, watching stars above. They govern war and peace, love and vengeance, fertility and fate, their stories etched deeply into the cultural soul of the Berber people. Unlike distant gods, Berber deities were intimate presences, shaping the rhythms of life through their passionate and sometimes violent interventions in the mortal world. One of the most revered Berber gods is Anzar, the god of rain, whose arrival was awaited like a blessing from the heavens. In a land where every drop of water could mean survival or death, Anzar's favor was essential. Legend tells of how Anzar's tears transformed parched earth into blooming gardens, sustaining tribes through the harshest droughts. His power was not just in bringing rain, but in controlling the balance between life and destruction. To honor him, the Berbers held rain-calling ceremonies filled with dance and song, where the entire community would come together to plead for his mercy and grace. Alongside Anzar stood the fierce goddess Tanit, a figure wrapped in mystery and divine power. Known as a protector of warriors and a goddess of fertility, Tanit embodied the dual nature of creation and destruction. Her presence was invoked before battles where her favor could turn the tide, and during sacred rites that celebrated birth and renewal. Tales speak of her fiery temper and boundless compassion, a goddess whose love could nurture crops and children, but whose wrath could summon storms to punish those who disrespected the land or her people. Tanit's festivals were grand affairs, weaving together song, dance, and sacred offerings that echoed through the mountains and valleys. Then there was the god Ither, guardian of the stars and the night sky, who watched over travelers and guided the lost through darkness. The Berbers believed that the stars were not mere lights, but the eyes of their ancestors and gods, watching and protecting from above. Ither's guidance was sought through storytelling and divination, rituals that connected the living with the cosmic realm. His influence shaped the Berber calendar and marked the timing of important agricultural and social events, making him a vital force in the cycle of life and time. These gods and goddesses were more than myth. They were the pulse of the Berber world. Through rites, songs, and festivals, the Berber people wove their spirituality into the fabric of daily life. Songs sung by elders told of gods walking among mortals, of divine battles fought in the skies, and of sacred promises made between humans and the spirit world. Festivals were vibrant expressions of faith and identity, times when the community gathered to honor their deities with music, dance, and offerings. These moments were not just celebrations, but acts of survival, binding people together through shared belief and reverence. The power of these deities extended beyond the spiritual. They shaped the fate of the Berber tribes, guiding decisions of war and peace, influencing alliances and offering hope in times of despair. To invoke the gods was to call upon the strength of the desert itself, to draw on forces that could protect, empower, and transform. Through these divine relationships, the Berbers found meaning in their struggles and a sense of connection to a world far greater than themselves. Stories of these gods continue to ripple through Berber culture today, kept alive in songs and oral traditions. They remind us that beneath the sands lies a rich spiritual heritage, a legacy of passion, power, and mystery. The Berber gods are echoes of ancient forces that once shaped a people's destiny, and their spirit still lingers, calling us to remember and honor the wild, untamed heart of the Sahara. In the vast expanse of the Sahara, where shifting sands blurred the borders of empires and peoples, the gods themselves collided and fused in a dance as ancient and complex as the desert winds. The Garamantes and Berber peoples, each with their own pantheons and sacred stories, found their deities meeting at crossroads of culture, trade, and conquest. What began as isolated beliefs slowly intertwined, creating a tapestry of gods who merged, transformed, or even clashed as new influences swept across the desert. This collision was not just spiritual, but a reflection of the shifting sands of power, identity, and survival. The Garamantes, with their secretive rites and gods of sand and water, came into contact with the deeply rooted Berber deities during centuries of trade and territorial overlap. Ammon, the storm god of the Garamantes, began to take on qualities similar to Anzar, the Berber rain deity, as both peoples sought to understand and control the unpredictable desert climate. Stories tell of how priests from both cultures met in secret gatherings, exchanging chants and rituals, blending prayers to ensure survival. In these moments of shared faith, Gods once distinct took on new faces, their powers evolving to reflect a union of peoples who depended on one another to endure the harsh desert. But this fusion was not always peaceful. Tales survive of divine rivalries where gods of war and fate clashed in the unseen realms, mirroring human conflicts on the ground. The fierce Berber goddess Tanit, protector of warriors, was said to have confronted Zarak, the chaotic storm god bound beneath the sands by the Garamantes Ammon. This myth speaks of divine battles fought beyond mortal sight, battles that shaped the desert's fate and echoed the struggles of empires rising and falling. These stories reveal the tension between order and chaos, old gods defending their realms against new forces and ideas that swept the Sahara with the rise of empires. The arrival of external powers, the Egyptians to the northeast, the Romans across the Mediterranean, and later Islamic influences, added layers of complexity to this spiritual fusion. Egyptian gods like Isis and Osiris found echoes in Berber and Garamantes deities, their symbols and stories blending in temples and shrines scattered across the desert. The Romans, with their pantheon and administrative might, introduced new religious ideas and sometimes forced conversions, yet even their gods could not erase the deep-rooted desert spirits. Instead, syncretism emerged, where gods were combined, renamed, or reinterpreted to fit shifting political and cultural landscapes. Islam, arriving centuries later, brought profound changes to the Sahara's spiritual landscape. While it replaced many old religious practices, the ancient gods did not vanish entirely. Instead, their spirits were woven into folklore, disguised in stories of jinn and saints, continuing to influence culture and belief beneath the surface. This layered spiritual identity speaks to the resilience of the desert's divine heritage. The gods adapted, survived, and transformed, becoming something new while carrying the echoes of their ancient power. This tale of collision and fusion raises a haunting question. How did these gods endure the relentless tides of history? As empires rose and fell, as languages changed and cultures merged, the gods were not static figures locked in stone. They were living, breathing symbols of human hope and fear, adapting to new realities while preserving ancient wisdom. Their stories evolved as much as the people who told them, ensuring that the spiritual heartbeat of the Sahara never truly stopped. In the end, the gods of the Garamantes and Berbers, influenced by Egyptian, Roman, and Islamic worlds, became a testament to survival through transformation. They remind us that faith is not fixed, but fluid, a force shaped by time, conflict, and connection. These desert gods, born of sand and spirit, continue to whisper through the dunes, inviting us to listen to the sacred collisions that forged their eternal legacy. Beneath the endless Sahara sands, the whispers of ancient gods are rising again. Modern archaeologists and historians have begun to peel back the layers of time, unearthing lost temples, sacred artifacts, and fragments of myths once thought erased. Each discovery brings new light to the Garamantes and Berber civilizations, revealing a world where spirituality was woven deeply into daily life. These excavations are more than mere digs. They are journeys into forgotten realms, revealing gods who shaped not only the desert, but the very souls of the people who called it home. One remarkable find was a temple buried beneath shifting dunes, its walls etched with symbols of Ammon and Tzelk, the desert's masters of storm and water. Nearby, pottery shards bearing the likenesses of Berber gods like Tanit and Anzar were discovered, their vibrant artistry a testament to a culture rich in faith and ritual. These artifacts tell stories that no written record can fully capture, stories of a time when gods walked beside mortals, guiding their fate. Each uncovered relic acts as a bridge, connecting us to ancestors whose spiritual lives were as vivid and complex as our own. This revival is not limited to dusty ruins. Across North Africa, the modern Berber people are reclaiming their ancient identity with pride and passion. Embracing the gods of their ancestors, they weave old legends into new cultural expressions through music, art, festivals, and language. Berber activists and artists speak openly of the spiritual heritage that colonialism and centuries of cultural suppression tried to erase. This renaissance is a powerful statement. The gods of the Sahara are not relics of the past, but living symbols of resilience and identity. Reclaiming these gods goes beyond cultural pride. It challenges long-held narratives about Africa's history and spirituality, which have often been overlooked or misunderstood. The stories of the Garamantes and Berber deities offer a richer, more nuanced vision of African spirituality, one that is deeply connected to the land, the cosmos, and human survival. This awakening invites the world to see African history not as a single thread, but as a vibrant tapestry, full of diverse beliefs and ancient wisdom. For many, rediscovering the lost gods is a spiritual journey as well as an academic one. It opens doors to understanding how humanity connects with the divine through nature, struggle, and community. It reminds us that even in the harshest places, faith flourishes and the sacred endures. The gods of the Sahara, once hidden beneath layers of sand and silence, are rising again, calling us to remember, to honor, and to celebrate a spiritual legacy that still pulses beneath the desert sun. These gods embody resilience, reminding us that even when forgotten, ancient powers endure beneath the surface, waiting to be remembered and honored. The desert itself, eternal and vast, holds their legacy with quiet reverence. Every dune, every oasis is a testament to a sacred covenant between humanity and the divine. The lost gods remind us that survival in the Sahara was not merely physical but spiritual, a bond between mortal and divine that shaped lives, destinies, and the very landscape. In their stories, we find echoes of universal themes: struggle and hope, chaos and order, loss and renewal. By listening to these echoes, we connect with something deeper, an ancient wisdom that challenges modern perceptions of history and faith. The gods of the Sahara ask us to look beyond the familiar, to honor the mysteries that shaped civilizations and still influence us today. They invite us to see the desert not as empty or desolate, but as a sacred realm where past and present meet in an endless dance. If this journey into the lost gods has stirred something within you, then you are part of the awakening, a call to remember and celebrate voices that refuse to be silenced. Like this video as a gesture of honoring those sacred forces, and subscribe not just to follow, but to join a community dedicated to uncovering hidden histories and forgotten truths. Share this story with those who believe in the power of memory, justice, and spiritual connection that transcends time. The gods of the Sahara may have been lost to history's sands, but they are never truly gone. Their spirits walk with us still, in the storm's roar, the whisper of the wind, and the enduring pulse of the desert. Let their stories rise, let their power live on, and let the sacred sands remember